All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you are all doing well and have grabbed your cup of coffee for our chat today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Lindsay Galley. I'm the Vice President of Programs at PFCC Partners, and will be in place of Laura facilitating today's discussion, which I'm really looking forward to. We are joined by Trish Thomas. Hi, Trish. Just wanted to check in with you to make sure you could hear us. Yep, hi. Trish is from Navajo Family Voices and is joining us for a discussion about addressing the unique healthcare needs of Native American communities. So a lot, I think, to learn from you, Trish, on both fronts, especially your experience with Family Voices as well. So really appreciate you joining us today. So thank you. All right. Before we get into our discussion, just want to let everyone know that we are recording and we'll share the recording with those who are interested in learning more. I will also make sure that the live transcript is available to everyone. Okay, that should be turned on now so you can access the live transcript if needed. And again, everything that you need is on your Zoom toolbar. If you're on a phone, you might have to swipe and you can see your toolbar as well, but the live transcript is available there. And any reactions, or if you would like to come off mute and ask a question or state a comment, you can let us know that you'd like to come off mute by using the raise hand button on the reactions control on your Zoom toolbar. And then we welcome you all to use the chat as well. Any just questions, reflections, things like that, please put them in the chat. All right, we like to start off our discussions and coffee chats with some agreements. I won't read through all of these, but welcome you to. It just helps us get on the same page for these discussions. One that I really like is, the stories stay here, but the lessons leave. There's always a lot that is shared here, personal experiences and stories, but there's so many lessons within there, and that's really what we take with us to continue to support improvements being made within healthcare. All right. So we have a little bit of a bigger group today, so I don't think we have time to do individual introductions around the horn, but I welcome you to put in the chat your name, your location, and what is your favorite holiday treat. I'll state mine, but again, I'm Lindsay Galley. I'm located in Sacramento, California, where I don't know how cold it is, but it's been pretty darn chilly here. And my favorite holiday treat, my dad grew up, his mom making a very rich chocolate cake every Christmas Eve. And my mom has continued that tradition, and it is just one of the best chocolate cakes that I've ever had. And we have it every Christmas Eve. And she just this year gave me the recipe because my other cousin asked for it. So now I have the secrets. I think part of that secret is coffee. There's coffee somewhere in that cake. But welcome you all to introduce yourself in the chat. I'll give everybody a minute to do that and share your holiday treat. Ooh, Haley, famous peach cobbler. That sounds so good. Yeah, it's a little chillier here, Linda. I think we're at maybe 50. Creme de menthe brownies. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. Give everybody another minute to introduce yourself in the chat. Trying to get some inspiration too. I love making new desserts and treats and things like that. All right, we'll keep the introductions coming in. Thank you, everybody. Before again, we dive into our conversation, just wanted to recognize that I believe today is the last day of Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah to those that celebrate. Hanukkah is the Jewish festival of lights that commemorates the miracle of the oil in the ancient temple. We have some information on here about, why Hanukkah is celebrated. And it's really a time for reflection, gratitude, and warmth of the community. So again, happy Hanukkah to those that celebrate. All right. Now let's dive right into our discussion. Welcome, Trish. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for this really important discussion. I just wanted to give you some space to introduce yourself a little bit further if you would like.
Oh, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, very good. I have to apologize. I live on the reservation. I have for quite a while, but I've lived offside, and today they had a water line break, so I had to go pick up my grandkids, and
Oh my
I
gosh.
had I knew I couldn't get. That's kind of life out here because it's so
Mhm,
rural,
mhm.
and it's just kind of an everyday happening. So I knew I couldn't make it back to my home to get
Oh,
on my computer to do the chat because it's still 12 miles away. And
oh
so I
my
had to
gosh.
pull over, get them breakfast here at the truck stop, and they're in there enjoying themselves, and I'm
Oh,
sitting in
Trish.
the car. But um, uh, I am with Navajo Family Voices, and it's a maternal child health grant, and it's one of the three funded um, Native American family to family health information centers. And so we work not I entirely on the reservation, but we do provide information and resources because the Navajo Reservation encompasses 4 states,
Wow.
and we get the information out to those Navajo families and um, via the internet or Facebook, um, or they all have like crossroad signs, and we'll put up a note with
Oh, wow.
some information. If there's a family gathering, that information is going to be shared. We take a very holistic approach. So I'll stop there uh, and um, get on into um, how we do the holistic approach because we are um, that's kind of how indigenous populations work
Mhm.
is they don't compartmentalize, they kind of braid everything together because they believe there's a connectiveness all the way around. So we partner a lot with um, all everybody um, who is providing a service on the Navajo reservation. So it may be the food co-op or the school where they allow us to come and give um, like backpacks and school supplies. And so we also do food distributions. We do out here, they use coal and firewood. So we'll have those on the side, and we're educating them because of the type of home they may live in, which is a hogan, and it just has one vent up at the top. And so if you use a particular specific type of wood stove, you have to make sure that the bottom part has a certain type of plate that it sits on. So if the ashes get in there, you don't
Mm-hmm.
start your home on fire. So it's unique in the sense that it's very encompassing of everything. Again, not compartmentalizing. And the big thing is, we do a lot of healthcare education because it is so vast and huge. And like I said, we use kind of all our partners and social media, which the younger group like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they like to access it that way. Now, the older dinosaurs like myself, we still like to read the stuff and get it. And as we're very visual,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're very, um, having worked with HRSA at a national level and under that MCHB and across the country, kind of just educating the healthcare professionals on how to interact with populations that are different from your own. Because you
Mm-hmm.
come in um, with your own background and how you have your culture and traditions. They're similar but different.
Right.
And so sometimes it's easier to find the commonality and not um, focus on what the difference is. It's better
Mm-hmm.
to find what you have in common. It just makes it easier with the trust issue
Right.
because a lot of native tribes have not had very good relationships with the federal government or the state government. So if you come in already, um, you know, people who come in on the reservation, special health care individuals, and healthcare is so sparse
Right.
in our areas because it's so rural and frontier.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of people who will come in from various disciplines like pharmacy or the docs or nurses or LPNs or podiatrists or whatever their discipline is, only come in for a very short time period, anywhere from 2 months to 4 months to 6 months,
Oh, wow.
because then it helps them if they're in a depressed area. It helps them kind of alleviate some of their student loans. And so we get this influctuation and never really get the time to really build a trusting
Right.
relationship because they're not. We get some that still stay, and I've networked with those doctors. I um, used to sit on the American Academy of Pediatrics board in Chicago, which I found very interesting because a lot of them come in to the reservation with a very good heart, but because that's not part of the training curriculum at any level regarding how you work with people who are different from you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and it's really focusing on what those commonalities are.
Yeah.
And in learning kind of a little bit, I try, and that was my thing, was educating the different specialists and doctors in various areas about finding something that you have in common and kind of giving them um, a rundown on like um, I had this one doctor call me because they were dealing with a family. They had to fly the child out into another state children's hospital. And he said, I don't think the parents are getting the information. I'm afraid to release this child because I don't think they'll follow through with what the regiment we were looking at, and the child needs to have, this, and that. And I asked him, what are you basing your um, information on? And he
Mm-hmm.
said, they never look me in the eye. I was like,
Oh.
what? He said, I don't think, they're understanding or getting the information. And I told him in most indigenous cultures, not looking at you straight in the face is a form of respect. Or
Yeah.
it could you're like in other countries like Vietnamese, you wouldn't look up and that's looked as a threat or you trying to be
Mhm.
disobedient. And
Mhm.
so it's having to learn a little bit about the cultural differences
Mhm.
so that they don't become barriers to accessing health care. And
Right.
that's one of them is finding out if the culture you're dealing with is matriarch or patriarchal.
Mhm.
Who makes those decisions? So you make sure that they're invited to the, um, when you're giving the diagnosis, prognosis, or anything, that they're there in the room as well.
Mhm.
You might not know who that is, but you could always tell the mom or dad usually and say, if there's anyone else you want to be in, to bring to this, so that when we discuss what the diagnosis is, we'll know how to accommodate. And when you invite them, you have to know that kind of get a ask them like, "Is it gonna be 3 people, 2 people?" I mean, I had a family that they even invited me, and there was 20 people in
Oh
that
my
room,
gosh.
all the grandmothers, because it was matriarchal.
Mhm.
And so they had to find a conference room to accommodate us. And I
Wow.
kinda gave them a heads up, and so they used a smaller they had a smaller conference room that probably held 12 people comfortably, and they had to go and get the bigger conference room because there was much more. Again, they brought all the grandmas,
Mhm.
uh, and aunts and everything because it was matriarchal just to hear everything. And
Right.
because you don't, um, as as maybe the mom or dad, sometimes you're overwhelmed, and so you're not getting all the information. You may hear um, one word that kind of just um, shuts you down.
Mhm.
And so you're not really listening to everything that's being said. So they usually look at having more than, one person in the additional in the room so that they can be the ones to go back and tell them, no, this is what they said. They or ask them to, you know, give the information to them. And I try and tell the doctors and specialists to kind of break the language down and give a lot of examples because
Mhm.
they don't know what eukaryotic might be. They'll just say it and they're used to the medical terminology.
Right.
As a family member, you're not.
Mhm.
Um, and in some tribes, like with Navajo, they don't discuss genetics at all. Genes, that's a taboo for them.
Really.
Um, so they, um, I've sat on um, the regional genetic genetics groups, and I was at the national group helping write Healthy People 2010, 2020, and had input to 2030. And so, looking at um, how different populations uh, look at creation is important because you
Mhm.
can't just spew out that terminology. And I tell them if you're new to the area, you need to tell them that. I don't walk in your shoes. You're going to have to help teach me how to work with you so that um, your child or you get the best medical care that you can get And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of families, even today, still tell me, nobody asks me. They don't ask me. And um, again, traditionally, you're not assertive in that sense because they're the authority figure.
Right.
I said, and sometimes you need
Mm.
to ask them more than once so
Mm.
that they really understand that you
Right.
really want their input, not
Mm-hmm.
just the one time, because they will feel like um, you were just being nice and you just said it, if you just invite them that one time. But if
Mm-hmm.
you do it, you know, even three times, then they feel that you're genuine and you really want them to help give you information as well as um, them sharing information with you.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask
And
you
out
a question
here, like,
about that, Trish?
sure, sure.
Because I'm curious, if you have seen maybe that change within your community. I know we're always working to help empower people and patients to, you know, maybe not be assertive, but, be in charge of their care and, bring information and ask questions. I'm curious if you have done any education or support around that, or if you see that changing within your community.
I have again I um tell them, they're here to help you, but if you don't speak up and um if you don't feel comfortable at that time, you could write it down and give it to the nurse,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or say you want to meet with the nurse prior to, the doctor you're going to see.
Right.
I said, and if you're in the conversation and you think of something after you leave, I said, it's, make sure you write that down so that you can give it to his, assigned nurse, or say, you want this to put into the um, your healthcare records so that
Mm-hmm.
when they review it, they have something in there. And it's just how, asking them um, like different types of medication. Sometimes they'll use the medical term for
Mm-hmm.
medication when we know it by a different name. And
Mm-hmm.
so to say both of them together so that they know that when the medical name of the medication that they're giving you is the same as this, which is common knowledge like Tylenol.
Right.
You could, it's just things like that people don't think of, that they just, you know, rattle through. And I think um, I try and tell the families, this is a partnership. You need to share your information with them as well as asking for information from them
Right.
so that you get the best result that you're looking for, so that
Yeah.
because it's going to help, with how they might prescribe something, or
Mm-hmm.
tell them, what, if it's a baby, there's things within different indigenous populations, like you don't touch, have, it's okay if the doctor does it, the medical doctor, but to have a nurse or, another person, unless they tell you before, to feel the fontanel at the top of the head,
Uh-huh.
because that's considered um, inappropriate because of, again, the within the different tribal nations, sometimes that um, is different. So I can't give you like an overall
Mm-hmm.
why they don't want you to do that, but it's not traditional for them, acceptable, I guess,
Right.
unless it's the doc that does that. But how are they going to know if the family
Right.
doesn't tell them? And so
Mm-hmm.
I'll use examples like that. So it's a partnership. I say it's a give and take. You have to be reciprocal. I said so that really you get the the child or you get the best result, um, from seeing your
Yeah.
specialist or your doctor.
Hmm.
And so sometimes it takes a little bit, and I usually work a lot with um, the nurses. Um, they just um, have a little bit more time than the
The doctor.
doctors do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the doctors, you know, start out with just saying hello. I'm glad you made it here.
Hmm.
I'm glad you're here today. Just something to break the ice. And usually that puts the family at, a different comfort level, not a confrontational one, but
Right.
they fit. You took the time to just acknowledge them, and um we're happy that they made it, because like I said, you may have had to arrange 3 weeks in advance
Right.
to borrow Uncle Joe's truck so that you could make
Right.
it to your appointment,
Yeah.
and you may have to wait, 2 hours at the clinic,
Mm-hmm.
um for somebody else to come pick you up because they still
Mm-hmm.
needed the vehicle to go. And the 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 medical personnel, unless they are from the tribe themselves, aren't gonna know that,
Right.
and it's just like, well, how come they're still sitting in the waiting room,
Right.
when I went in and got my other one, and it's telling them, well, I have to wait for my ride.
Hmm.
It's a process in you know, again, a lot of times assumptions are made that everybody has their own vehicles or
Hmm.
there's public transportation. There's none really. And if some tribes do have like little shuttle buses and stuff, but the roads are not maintained. They're still dirt roads. And, if you get rain or snow, it
Yeah.
corrodes the road and you can't
Right.
get places. And um, we don't have a corner drugstore. I mean, most people who live in a city or a town can, you know, go a couple of blocks and buy Tylenol or Band-Aids or whatever. We can't. We have to drive maybe 50, 40 miles,
Mm.
to
Oh.
purchase um, things that, are not um, where sometimes they think, okay, you need to change this. Here's 2 Band-Aids, you need to change this
Oh.
Band-Aid 3 times a day, or, steri strips, you can buy them at wherever, but, not having the understanding that you're going to have to drive um, quite a ways in order to pick up
Hmm.
those extra things that sometimes now the clinics and hospitals are not giving them. They're only giving you like 2 or 3 items
Oh, wow.
get you through so that you can, again, um, be able to get them. So it's
Hmm.
really um, kind of telling the families to let them know that um, you can't, if you're not telling them, how are they going to know? You
Hmm.
have to let them know what is available or where you have to go to
Hmm.
pick up what they're asking you to do.
Right.
So it's, just the ruralness and the lack of transportation, the lack of specialty providers, because, we don't have housing out here to house some of our providers. They're trying
Mm-hmm.
to do that now. Um, a lot of them come in and they don't understand, say, a tribal health facility from an Indian health facility
Hmm.
or a contract IHS facility. They
Mm.
just assume it's what they know. And so it's a learning experience for them as well.
Absolutely.
I my tribe took over, um, and we have what's just called, we have a tribal clinic. It's not a hospital, but it's a clinic. Our nearest hospital is, I think, 32 miles away, which is in Grants.
Mm.
Um, but if you need a specialty provider, you have to drive 50 plus miles into Albuquerque.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it's con- uh, constantly telling the people in the community that they need to, help educate the new healthcare providers that come into the area so
Mm.
that they're not um, thinking that, they can just tell you to go out and get this and
Right.
it's just down the street. And so
Right. Well,
we're asking them,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
oh, it's asking them um, how else they might help you or other types of information they might need. And what I tell the providers is that if you take off your provider hat and make one of the kind of traditional events that are happening that everybody's allowed to attend, like
Oh, yeah.
our feasting, and I'm talking about the pueblos,
Mhm.
um, and not wear your professional hat, that you took the time to actually participate in a local community event.
Mm.
So that solidifies um, that you want to be here, that you took the time to find,
Yeah.
to actually come to a
Mhm.
local event here. And so a
Love
lot of
that.
people, um, will invite their healthcare professional to stop by and, um, we have all these little events that happen like um, for hunting season, they have what's called deer dinners, and you get invited to one of those. And it's very, even if you don't eat the food, it's, you could say wanted to take it with you. And so you don't, I mean, you do not, you have to take the food with you, whether you eat it or not,
You
because
gotta
that,
take it.
right. Yeah, it just kind of makes it, um, that kind of builds the trust with the community with you,
Yeah,
you know. And
absolutely.
so it's like learning those, and to me, it's all very right in front of our face, but
Mhm.
sometimes we look at it as it has to be this omnipotent, amazing something,
Right.
when it's really not. It's very, it's just a natural thing to do.
Mhm.
Um,
And I can see that
and
applying to many different communities too, just go
Mhm.
to a local community event and talk with people and learn about, their traditions or, yeah, just get to know people. I feel like that's an ultimate way to build trust is going out.
And
I'm curious how receptive providers are to not only that invitation to, come to community events, but also like some of the other pieces that you added, finding commonality and learning about cultures that are different than yours. Like what has the reception on the provider side been like with those invitations and that information?
most of them are very receptive, but the ones who are only going to be here for a short time, those
Mm.
are the ones that even some of those will say, you know what, thank you for doing that. And I'll tell, the community members too, this is um usually I don't have to tell them, they just do it naturally and get
Right.
and invite whoever to whatever event there is happening. And there's no really don't know how to hard feelings against
Mhm.
them, and it's just like what how our people will ask or invite. It's like, I know you're really busy,
Mhm.
but if you have the time, this is happening, and you're welcome to our home to bring your family or your friend or whoever to come
Mhm.
and experience this local event in our community. And
So great.
so if it's put like that, um, they can either not come or say, you know what, we were, and I'll tell them, some of the docs say, "Oh my God, I just totally forgot because, blah, 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 whatever."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, you can just tell them, that you're sorry that, something else came up, but, you appreciated the invitation." I said, "It's gonna
Mhm.
take you 2 minutes to say this, and it builds the trust." I always let them know that
Yeah.
it starts building that trust.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's so, so huge. Um, Thank you, Trish, for sharing. You touched on pretty much every question I had, and we have about 20 minutes left. And I think I saw Marty, you come off mute. I don't know if you had a question or a comment, but would love to open it up to others if you have questions or comments regarding
I
this.
did. I did. Thank you. I see so much opportunity here for us to do some type of a communication guide within the Native American communities and break this down, because I do a lot of conversations with different providers and saying, you have to have bifocal lenses and wear hearing aids and all of that. But these people really need, the providers really need to understand the scenario so that the community members that they're taking care of are comfortable approaching them. And it is absolutely the truth that you cannot invoke trust if you don't understand. And at the end of the day, trust is what we need to make this relationship work. I see a lot of health literacy issues going on in there. I see a lot of lack of cultural sensitivity going on in there. But people, if we don't give them guides on both sides, and you're doing such a fabulous job, Trish, I'm really impressed. But we need to get it out so that both sides are comfortable doing it without us there and learn how to do it on their own so that they can share it within their community and their families, because you're changing a culture in this process on both sides.
And, I sat and worked with the National Center on Cultural Competency. I don't like that terminology because if you're competent, that's saying you reach the level of knowledge or information. And to me, life is ongoing, always changing.
Absolutely.
What's true for today may not be true for tomorrow. But at that time, that was catchwords that
Mhm.
everybody was like, "Ooh, let's use that." So anyway, that's my take on not really liking that terminology. But they funded us that national center at Georgetown University, and I worked with them as staff and did training across the country. They have a lot of still resources on information like that. We went, they went all over. I went a couple of places outside the country, but they, hit other countries as well because again, we had various types of indigenous populations coming into the United States from everywhere.
Mhm.
And so, like you said, um, we need that type of information. My understanding is they still had a lot of their information and resources like one pagers for families, one pagers for the professionals um, uh, to kind of look at to give them some guidance and direction when they were working with populations who were different from, themselves. Um, I haven't checked it out in a while, but I always give that as a resource. But I think a lot of the information that like telling your story, you guys telling your story when you've had to deal with populations that were different uh, to that were different from you.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, that just really, again, builds the trust because you're open enough to share your story. Then families open up and they can share, you know, their story as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Trish. And I just wanted to touch on the cultural competency because we agree. I don't think anybody can be culturally competent in every culture. So we've been calling it, and maybe this will resonate a little bit more, but cultural humility. So, you know, being kind of humble enough to know when to ask questions so you can continue to learn and understand, which I like a lot more than cultural competency. Um, or getting to know one another. Yeah, cultural openness. I like that, Bill. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill, I saw you share in the chat too. Uh, Applications and projects from the Native American community were very different from other applications. One that stood out was for Indigenous youth to learn about and participate in performing arts. They made mention that they didn't subscribe to the Western idea that the show must go on. For the final performance, the youth could choose to participate by being an audience member, not forced to perform on stage if they decided they weren't comfortable. He appreciated their different approach. That's very interesting. Would love to learn more about that, Bill. Thank you for sharing. Linda, I see your hand up. Oh, you're muted.
Yep. Sorry. This is really a great presentation or conversation. And, you know, I just keep thinking, is there somewhere regarding Native American community that has the tease out for each of the different tribal communities? Because I'm over in Florida where the Seminoles are. And you know, I know there's got to be a lot of common threads, not just with our Native American community, but a lot of the other communities that are, you know, from other parts of the world that live in our state and other states. But I also want to have that. I just keep thinking with sensitivity that there's got to be differences from each community across the whole aspect of the Native American community at large. Do you know, is there somewhere that would have teased out information like what you're talking about, but for
Sometimes
our different?
um if they have like a community health representative
Mhm.
agency, and it's they're people from the tribe who are trained to do um uh kind of healthcare visits, or like take care of somebody who has like needs like wound care and stuff. They kind
Yep.
of have that information and knowledge, but I'm not sure that every tribe has them. I usually go directly to the tribal office, and you're gonna get probably just the receptionist there, and they are very open to giving you the guidance and direction to who might have that information.
Okay.
And a lot of the times I go to the Head Starts because
Ah,
a lot of the information, you know, for kids and
yeah,
stuff, uh, you know, are
could be
given out
applicable.
through the Head
Yeah.
Starts.
Yeah.
And
Well, so and
um,
just one other little kind of follow-up question. So I work for our Florida Department of Health's Title V program, and every 5 years, the government, feds, require a very extensive 5-year needs assessment. And in 2024, we're going to be working on that needs assessment. And this will be my first time to work in full in this position that I'm in as a statewide family leader. And I have brought up the aspect of, what did we do in the past to make sure we're hearing the voice of our Native American communities across the state. And they admittedly has said that they didn't do a great job last time around. So I'm going to be highly interested in making sure that the family voices are heard in this needs assessment for children and youth with special health care needs. And so this was a great conversation to help me start thinking.
That's great, because I recently retired from reading the Title V block grants. I used to go all over the country and read the block grants. And that was my thing, is where's the parent input? It doesn't appear anywhere that you've gotten the parent input. And so we would do, they would always ask me for suggestions, and I would tell the Title V person, you have advisory boards. Who are those parents on those advisory boards? So that they can go back into the community and just really have those conversations on, with the families, like, oh, what do you like that's happening with, Title V or children with special health care needs in your state? Like, what are they doing that you like? What do you think might need some improvement? And it was just really talking story, is what we call it in Indian country, to get that type of input, uh, and be able to write it down and then tell them, we'd like to utilize this, again, getting their permission and saying, to say this is kind of what the families really like, but if you built on this, um, I, this may be missing, or, if you just did something. I always try and tell the families to focus on what is already working and what needs improvement.
Okay.
Not starting at the deficit level, because that's where everybody starts. It's kind of finding, um, the good thing that's happening, because again, that instantly starts building trust, and the families want to share that type of information. So
Yeah.
I always, for here, I was quite involved with our parent group, and I go and just do little focus groups, because I had the time, and get information, especially for the piece of children with special health care needs, CMS,
Yeah.
and get parent input on, again, what they liked. And again, I tell the professionals, if you had funding, but you don't have the funding now, you need to let the families know, so that that's why what you did before is not happening, because again, unfortunately, what moves everything is the almighty dollar. And
Yeah.
if you don't have it, you can't do it. So, but
Yes.
the
The funding
families,
shifts.
the families are never told that.
Right.
I know,
They
and to have them understand from the legislator and up on Capitol Hill to the huge federal departments and the trickle down to the state and then the trickle down to local, it's just really hard to convey when those shifts happen and explain that, because it's just like, I know, and it breaks your heart sometimes when funding goes away. So, but Trish, thank you. This is very helpful. I appreciate it.
Sure. I don't know if anybody else has any more questions. If you don't, I'm more than willing to get off the call and let you continue.
Well, thank you so much, Trish. This has been, I just appreciate you taking the time, and I've had like so many light bulbs go off because, you know, I don't know as much about, you know, your community or the Native American community. And yeah, I think there's just always more to learn. So hope that we continue to stay in touch and learn together. But we so appreciate you and your time. So thank you so much.
Oh,
And we'll let you get back to driving the kiddos around. And thank you for joining too, from the car and everything. That really means a
I
lot.
know. Okay, thank you too. I enjoyed the time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank
You were
you.
great.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We have a few minutes left, but just wanted to leave you all with so a gift of gratitude, you know. Thank you for joining these coffee chats and other PFA network activities over this last year. You know, we appreciate each and every one of your partnerships and your stories and just yeah, just lots of appreciation from me and the team at PFCC Partners. So very, very happy holidays, happy new year, and we're looking forward to another year of continued growth and trying to improve this healthcare system we're all in. So
Thank you, Lindsay. It's been a great year with you guys. See you in 2024.
yep, see you next year. I can start saying that now.
Everyone take care.
Stay well, stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.